Marcel, you are a nutritionist and health coach. Tell us your perspective on this.
Yeah, so I actually specialise in working with people with eating disorders and disordered eating. So I'm seeing a lot of people who have either coming to me having got hold of this weight loss jab, having not needed it, and they're in a worse position. I'm also working with people who are currently on the weight loss jab, but they actually need more support than just thinking about the weight loss jab. But what concerns me is really about the fact that I think for a lot of people, they're not necessarily being able to make informed decisions around this. There are lots of issues with this medication that I think, there's been a massive media frenzy around it. And I think people are sort of jumping on it without considering the issues. One of the issues is that as soon as you discontinue the jab, you have the rebound weight gain, but you also have the rebound food noise and the cravings. People also experience muscle loss. So you've got to be doing other things around. If you are taking these medications, it's not enough to just reduce everything that you're eating. The other issue that I'm beginning to see and that there is concern about is the malnutrition, because what the weight loss medications do is suppress the appetite. So I'm seeing people who are just significantly reducing their food intake, but not necessarily changing what they're eating. And the problem is we start to see issues with nutrient deficiencies and malnutrition, and that can lead to all sorts of other issues. So for me, I'm concerned about the health of people.
What about the safety of the jabs themselves, Marcel?
So the other issue is there are many side effects. Some are ranging from sort of mild side effects, gastrointestinal, but some go to stomach paralysis, gallbladder disease, pancreatitis, an increased risk of, a few different cancers at the moment. We're beginning to see problems related to a rare eye disease and more. So it's such short-term time that we've had data on this. We don't have long-term data. And a lot of people are now saying, well, okay, if there's rebound weight gain, then I need to stay on this for life. But we don't have the data of staying on these medications for life. And I just think that people need to make that risk analysis and be aware of all the issues involved with it.
If you are overweight, Sarah, your health is compromised, you're a candidate for diabetes, stroke, heart disease, cancer, arthritis, of course resulting from your joints being under strain. There are many ways in which you can persuade people and talk about being overweight without necessarily resorting to fat jabs.
No, absolutely. And I think you talked about at the beginning when you were doing your introduction, there's going to be people with different levels of, living with overweight or obesity and the impact that it has on your body. What these medications have been designed for are people living with the chronic condition of obesity. And when I say chronic condition, this is where your health is being impaired by your weight. And so it's for people like that these medications are a huge step forward and a huge advancement in care. And, Marcel was mentioning around that we haven't got long-term data. We actually have got long-term data around the molecule itself of semaglutide and liraglutide, which are the GLP-1 kind of elements of the medication.
So just not to blind people with information, those are the sort of active ingredients in Ozempic and fat jabs like it. Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, they're the active group. They've been around for about 15 years for people living with diabetes. So we've got data on the lower doses in diabetes. What we don't have is the data around some of the higher doses, which we're using in obesity. So we can take some comfort in knowing we've got, a good 10, 15 years worth of data generally around this class. So it's not a new class of medication. It has been around for a while. So I think with all medication, it's about benefits outweighing risk. But I think when you live with obesity and it's impairing your health, so you might have high blood pressure, sleep apnea, high cholesterol, if this can actually reduce some of those symptoms down by losing weight as a result of being on the medication, then that's a real positive step forward for that person's health. So I think we need to look at everyone as an individual. I totally agree about the wraparound care needed. So the nutritional support, about moving more, about strength kind of exercises, etc. And also focusing around how someone feels as well, because that's important and we don't do that enough. So it is a case of not just jabbing yourself and hoping that's going to be everything. And we do know that when you come off the medication, your weight will regain. But if you came off a blood pressure medication, your blood pressure would go up. Because this is a chronic condition.
Marcel,
remember.
Marcel, you must be worried about the black market and all of this. I mean, it's dead easy to get this prescribed in some way by an internet doctor. It's dead easy to get this sent to your home, for example. That must be something you're worried about.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, as I said, I'm having people admit that they've done whatever they can because to get hold of these medications, because people with body image issues and history of disordered eating or eating disorders will do whatever they can to lose weight. And I completely understand the seductive nature of this for people who really don't have a need for these medications. As Sarah said, there's a huge amount of stigma in our society, and people feel that they need to strive for thinness no matter the harms and risks.
But of course, you mean there are risks of being overweight. That is a risk. That is a risk to your health, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm talking about people who are getting hold of it, who are not necessarily medically in need of it, you know, it becomes a feature of disordered eating and eating disorders, and we're beginning to see. I think it's going to be a huge problem. So I think I'm totally in agreement around the stigmatization of people in larger bodies. I work with a lot of people who struggle with binge eating, for example, many of whom are in large bodies and struggle with obesity. But I think that there are other ways we need to really address, rather than going straight for the jab, and giving people the support that they need. And there's other things, for example, that have come up in the news recently about trying to make healthier food options more accessible, because for some people it's food poverty is part of the obesity picture. It's multifaceted, it's social, physical and psychological, and we need to take all of these things into account.
Okay.